Hello and welcome to the introductory course on AI-based malware analysis. In this course I have prepared various different examples and whiteboards. So it's going to consist of multiple parts. Just to show you a demo, this is in preparation for a course that I'm delivering with O'Reilly, and this is just my prep work. In the course I'm going to be showing you how to use Guidra, which is a software engineering tool for it's a software engineering tool developed by the NSA. And then I can show you how to use Deep Code AI Snook. This is going to be for Snook and Deep Code AI merged together. So that's one tool now, and then we're going to link Snook to your GitHub, and then it's going to give you a dynamic analysis of the code that you're writing. We're going to be talking about Black Mamba, which is a polymorphic malware that changes its code every time that it attacks a device. This is a proof of concept malware, so we're going to be talking about that, and we're going to be looking at Black Mamba 2.0, so the next version of Black Mamba. We're also going to discuss tools like Cuckoo. It's a sandbox for static and dynamic analysis. Then we're going to move on to tools like Vectra. And Vectra AI, it's for AI analysis of malware. We're going to be talking about the CrowdStrike Falcon X, which is another tool for AI malware analysis. And if there's sufficient time, we're going to talk about hybrid analysis, which is my personal favorite. In the actual course structure, again, this is just the preparation for the course that I'm doing, and I'm recording because I have to test the equipment, I have to test the whiteboard, the microphone, and it's a little bit of self-promotion. So if you want to register for the actual course, that's going to happen tomorrow. They still have some slots remaining. But most people are going to see this video after the actual deadline, so this is going to remain just as a YouTube video. And just to show you how the course is structured, it has 8 segments, so those are the segments, and each segment is followed by a question and answer session and example. So in one segment I will be talking about Falcon X, in another about Cuckoo Sandbox, in third one about Viper bots, and that's the actual course structure. So I'm going to try to record eight half-an-hour videos in preparation for this course that I'm delivering tomorrow. Now I do have whiteboards, so those are the whiteboards, and I'm using the freeform. That's the Apple native whiteboard. It gives you quite a good functionality, and it's free, so you don't have to pay for it. In case you're ever wondering what kind of whiteboard to use, if you're using iPad or MacBook, any Apple product, then freeform is definitely the best product because it's integrated into the Apple software and you don't have to pay for it. That's the reason why I'm using it. I also have PowerPoint slides, so I'm going to be going through those as well, because some people still prefer PowerPoints. Just that when you're in the free form using the iPad, here you can do quite advanced drawings, and in PowerPoint I have limited functionality of this tool that I can only do basic drawings like that and not much more. And starting from the first slide now, before we move on to the whiteboard. My name is Peter. I'm an author, I'm an academic, I'm a researcher. I work for the Department of Computer Science in the University of Oxford. If you want to check my profile, the easiest thing to do is to type my name in Google, and you will find a lot of information about me, including my university profile, my interests. Try to include the teaching here, so I need to update that. So that's my old teaching with O'Reilly. My new teaching is not linked there. I have to find time to update that. It's difficult to update everything. So I do have also a Google Scholar profile where you can find all my publications for free. So those are publications that I published, and University of Oxford paid their open access fees, around £3,000 for each one. And when you click on that, you can basically read the research papers. You don't have to subscribe or join or pay memberships to journals. So that's about me. Let's go back to the PowerPoint slides. let's see what do I have prepared here. So I'm gonna go through the PowerPoint slides. Then I'm gonna move on to the whiteboard. So I'm gonna do some work with the whiteboard and I'm gonna do a quiz. So at the end of this, there's gonna be a short quiz. Obviously, I won't be able to get your answers because it's a recorded video, but it would be a quiz for yourself. So I'm gonna ask you a question to think about the answer. And if you don't know the answer, then you're gonna hear the answer at the end. And some of the questions would be quite fundamental for cybersecurity professionals. And if you don't know the answers to those questions, like I'm going to tell you a specific scenario for a malware attack, and if you don't know the answer on do you need to apply static or dynamic analysis, then this video is definitely something you should watch, because that kind of questions are always going to come up on job interviews. And for me, the answers would be automatic. I don't have to think about those. If they give me a scenario about do I need to apply static or dynamic or hybrid analysis, I'm gonna know instantly given the scenario that they're gonna present. And many people are still struggling with those questions. So I'm gonna be asking those questions in the video, and then you can decide what type of approach you would choose. And at the end, I'm gonna tell you the correct approach. And I'm gonna justify it. So I'm not just gonna say that's the correct approach. I'm gonna say that's the correct approach because yada, yada, yada. So we had a very good introduction about myself and who am I. So this video is going to be on the first segment, the foundations of AI-based malware. So I'm going to start with theoretical introduction to AI malware, its capabilities, the evolving threat landscape. I'm going to be trying to explain what's the difference between AI-powered malware and just normal malware. And for that, there are two good examples to use, Medusa Locker and Black Mamba. And we're going to focus more on the Black Mamba in this session, and obviously in future sessions, that's going to leave window open for focusing more on the Medusa Locker. But also I'm going to be talking about how to set up your static analysis tools. I'm going to talk about what are the requirements for analyzing malware without executing it. So that's in static analysis. Dynamic analysis is when you execute the malware and you observe the performance of the malware. And then we're going to be talking about how do you understand the code structure, file signatures and patterns. And actually I'm going to show you some of the most famous examples of malware from the beginning of malware. So I can actually show you the code, and I'm gonna give you a link to where you can also check the code. And again, be careful with this kind. The examples that I'm gonna use, they're quite harmless because the computer systems are already adapted to it. So your MacBook, for example, is gonna come up with an alert and it's gonna say, be careful opening this file, it could be malware, because they are listed on the malware databases and they're known to us. And the difference, I'm already starting and I shouldn't start to explain in introduction, but AI-based malware is different because it changes the code every time that it attacks. So it's not that easy to put it into a category that you know that is the pattern, and you won't really, it's not that easy to detect it. It's quite evasive. Then I'm gonna show you a very quick exercise with Gydra, and I'm gonna show you why Gydra is one of the best tools for static analysis. Although it's not that new, actually. Gydra was classified software and for reverse engineering, and then got declassified, and from 2019 onwards, it's been updated a few times, but it's 2025 now, so it's 6 years old. And first, as always, I'm going to start with theoretical introduction to AI malware, capabilities, and the evolving threat landscape. And then I'm going to move to the next one. So let's start with this. What is AI malware? Well, the definition is that AI malware uses machine learning to improve its stealth, persistence, and adaptability. And by that, what it means is that usually it uses machine learning to change the approach. So if you go to ChatGPT and you ask them to write the code for a specific function, it can do that. And if you isolate just a small part of the malware, then you can use those generative AI tools to populate different examples. And actually the Black Mamba that I'm going to show you, it's using OpenAI, ChatGPT. Because when you build this kind of proof of concept, you try to stay on the least risky side of the business. So you're trying to demonstrate how that can be done without actually making it too advanced that somebody can use it against it. And obviously you're always going to use a company that you can report the glitch to, and then they can patch it. So that's the catch over here. In terms of capabilities, what's the difference between malware and polymorphic malware, which is AI malware? Well, it generates different behavior. So every time that it attacks, it changes its code structure, so it's difficult to detect it with static signatures. And second way to differentiate AI malware from normal malware is that uses AI for autonomous attack strategies. So it's not guided by somebody, it's not individual attacking it, it's using AI to build those attack vectors. And examples, again, as I mentioned before, include Medusa Locker and Black Mamba. And Medusa Locker is an AI-assisted ransomware, so that's different than Black Mamba. It uses dynamic encryption patterns, and Black Mamba is polymorphic malware keylogger that is using AI for payload delivery. But Black Mamba is a keylogger. Basically, it attacks a device and then records everything that you type on your computer, passwords and whatever, and sends it back to base, so the hacker would be able to access your bank account or whatever credentials that you've typed in the software. So that is in a nutshell the difference. And now moving on to the introduction to malware analysis. Here, hold on, let me try and set a timer, because this should have been half an hour. One of the ideas why I'm recording it is to time it, to see how long it's going to take me to explain, because the course has to be half an hour. And on YouTube, you can be blabbing all day, but those courses, they have to be timed. And sometimes it's difficult to explain everything in half an hour, especially if you have to do demos and various other things. So that's why I time it and I record the YouTube video before. And this is more like informal. The session tomorrow is going to be quite formal. I won't be able, for example, to have this hanging over here. I'm going to have a shirt and stuff. By the way, this is my Red Team Village t-shirt. I'm a very proud member of Red Team on DEF CON. DEF CON is usually in Vegas. It's a very interesting conference if you've never attended, and if you work in cybersecurity and what you're doing with your life. It's the mecca of cybersecurity professionals. On DEF CON, you don't even have to register. You can buy a ticket on the door without ID, and many people wear masks. So all the hackers are over there. Now, enough of a promo for DEF CON. It doesn't need a promo. It's the largest hacking convention in the world. Sometimes 30,000 people attend, sometimes 50,000. And usually, as I said, I'm going to be in the Red Teaming Village, which is run by Omar Santos, so a personal friend of mine. Now, introduction to malware analysis. Here there are different categories of malware, but one simple explanation of what is malware. Malware is the software component of cyber attacks, which malware is basically software, just that it's not the good software, it's the bad software. And if you're trying to define malware, for me, malware is just software. But there's different types of malware. It's not a single type. So here's a question for you. If somebody asks you, how many types of malware do you know? How many would you be able to list? Because here we have the most famous one. And by the way, this is the only image that I have in the entire PowerPoint slides, because it took me a ridiculous amount of time to build that image, and it's kind of pointless because it doesn't add much value to the presentation. But you have Trojans, ransomware, spyware, adware, worms, botnets, and scareware. That's the types of malware that I managed to fit into that image. This is actually a lot more. So you have fileless malware, you have mobile malware, you have a wiper malware, my personal favorite, because it wipes out everything on your device and not even the hacker can reverse it anymore. keylogger, so Black Mamba is going to be a keylogger, cryptojacking, and hybrid malware. And I'm going to talk a lot more about those, including the quiz would be I'm going to be giving you specific examples, and I'm going to ask how do you detect that specific malware, what kind of software would you use, what is the best type of approach for analysis, static analysis, dynamic analysis, how would you resolve that problem. And those are the type of questions that you can definitely expect on an interview. So if you're attending a job interview for cybersecurity, depending on the level that you're interviewing, this is the kind of questions that they're going to appear for analysts, for example, most certainly. Because if you don't know what types of vulnerabilities there are and what type of malware there is, then you're probably not a good cut for cybersecurity. There's lots of people who understand computer science and they think that they know computers, but cybersecurity is not really a science. So I know there's lots of people now getting their shirts off and starting to argue, many people from academia, but it's not. Cybersecurity, it's detecting this malware and fixing patches, and that's a requirement in industry. If you work for the government or for Google or for any corporation in the world, they need you to be able to detect the malware, fix a patch. There's no actual science behind it. Moving on to the next slide. Here we have viruses examples. So here I have listed a whole list of very well-known malware examples, and including the very first malware. And I'm going to show you the code to those, and I can provide you with a link in case you wanted to investigate further. Actually, in this PowerPoint slide, those are links. So that's a link that is leading to the worm. That's the first worm, that's the Zeus Trojan, that's the CryptoLocker, that's the Pegasus. So if I click on that link, which I will in the next few seconds, it will take us directly to the malware. So you can see how the malware operates. But in this slide, I have 5 different types of malware that I'm going to explain. So those include viruses, worms, Trojans, ransomware, and spyware. And those are the most important ones from this slide. So as you can see here in the image, those are the ones that are listed to begin with. What are viruses? What is a malware virus? Well, virus is a program, a malicious program that attaches itself to a legitimate file, then spreads when those files are executed. And one example is that I Love You virus from 2000. So that's been quite a long time around. And that virus infected millions of systems, and it disguised itself as a love letter. So that's the first one. Worms, what are worms? Worms are self-replicating malware which spread through the network without requiring a host file. So one example is the Morris worm from 1988, which is one of the first worms to spread across the internet. And that worm was the reason why we created the Computer Emergency Response Team, CERT team. But as you can see, it's been around from 1988. And when some people say that the new technologies would patch how we operate and that we're not going to have problems with cybersecurity in the future, well, think twice. It's been around since 1988 and we still have worms. So as long as there's a crime, there's going to be cybercrime. Cybercrime is no different than any other form of crime. There's always going to be a criminal, and unless we can change the mentality of the human species, there's going to be cybercrime. And the whole idea that computers would be secure by default or secure by design, well, let me show you what I mean. So if I go to, I showed you my Scholar profile here, I do actually have multiple papers on digital security by design, so that's the one. And for example, this one here on AI and Cherry, that's if you go to Web of Science and type AI security, that's going to be the 5th best paper out of more than 6,000, close to 7,000 papers. This is going to be the 5th rank. And my understanding is that digital security by design can work up to a specific limit, and most of the devices that we use now are quite secure. And the way that the attackers would hack you is, if we look at examples of scareware, well, that's just gonna send you a phishing email to scare you into doing something, and many people will click, and by the time they realize that they have clicked something, they have been infected. And also the black mamba that we're gonna be looking at, the polymorphic malware with the keylogger, is gonna change every time that it attacks. So it's not gonna be as simple as detecting them as the ones from 1988. So as we improve the security, cyber attackers would improve their methods of attack. And third, here we have the Trojans, which is a malicious program that disguises as a legitimate software. And here we have the Zeus Trojan, which is used to steal banking information through keylogging. So that's a keylogger, and from grabbing. Then on the fourth category, we have ransomware, which is a malware that would encrypt your system and demand for a payment. One example here is the CryptLogger from 2013, and that was one of the first major ransomware attacks to use advanced decryption techniques. It forced many victims to pay to regain the access. So we do have examples of people having to pay to regain their access. And fifth is spyware, software that gathers information from a system without the user knowledge. So one example that I'm going to be showing you now is Pegasus. That was a spyware developed by NCO Group that exploited zero-click vulnerabilities in mobile devices to gather data from some high-profile individuals. Now let's look at these examples that I have. And again, I'm going to provide these slides, and all you have to do is just click on the link and it will take you to that, maybe command. Now, because I'm not in the full window mode, and I need to go into full window mode in order to open that. And that's good. So this is why I'm doing this kind of tests, so I don't have to do that tomorrow. If I do the recording tomorrow for O'Reilly and I don't know how to click on a button, it's not going to look very good. So let's look at the first one, I love you. So this is the first one, and here we have the I love you virus. This is again a note here that is free to use. It will shut down, but if this harms your system, he is not responsible. So this is written in a very disclaimer-like, because what it's saying is that it's free to use, but at your own risk. Do as you wish with that. And again, if you're running any form of this malware, I would strongly suggest that you create a virtual machine and you run something like a Cuckoo sandbox in a virtual machine. Otherwise, you might be exposing your computer to these viruses. Most of the time, the vulnerabilities have been patched. I repeat that. There's been patches on these vulnerabilities, but sometimes the patch is actually a warning message. So your computer would say, this could be a malware, don't install it. And if you click and you persist on installing it, maybe you're bypassing the system. So it depends again on which virus. Not all of them would damage your device because they're quite old, but as a disclaimer, use a sandboxed environment if you're going to play with any of those. And again, the demos that I'm going to be doing for these courses, they won't really include anything like that. I won't be installing the virus or running the virus, just because there's lots of glitches and it takes a lot of time to fix those glitches. So there's many things that can go wrong. So I'm going to be doing quick demos of not more than 10 minutes. And sometimes to analyze a virus properly, it might take like an hour. And there's no point in doing that, especially because we're talking about polymorphic malware and AI-based malware. We're not supposed to be covering too much the old malware, which is I love you from year 2000, if I remember correctly. So here is the malware code. You can download it. You can run that in Python. And this is the bat file, love.bat file. So there you are. If you want to analyze this with some of the tools that I'm going to be showing to you later on, you have the files over here. What else do we have? Let's go back to the PowerPoint slides. Oh, let's look at the Morris worm. This is the 1988 worm, or also known as the first worm. So let's click. This is an article I think that I found explaining that the Morris worm turned 30 in 2019. So now it's like 36. So this Morris worm is fairly old. So here in this link you can read more about it if you want to know how did it came into being. And here you have the code to the Morris worm. So here this is hold on, 5 years old, if I can find the correct tool. And this is the repository where you would download the malware and run this in your secured environment into your sandbox using the techniques that I'm going to be showing today. And those techniques would include, hold on, Guidra, Cuckoo Sandbox, Vectra AI, CrowdStrike, hybrid analysis. Those would be the tools that you could, and it would be as simple as file collection and you upload the file to analyze, or you can just paste the code here. That's why hybrid analysis is my favorite tool for analyzing malware, but obviously Guidra has its own specific advantages. So we're going to be going through those later on in this session. Hold on, back to the PowerPoint slides. And now let's look at the Zeus Trojan, which was a Trojan from 2007. This is again the access to the code for the Zeus Trojan. That's a link to the public archive, and as you can see, it's fairly old, 14 years old, and this version can be downloaded from here. And there's always a disclaimer that the code has been uploaded to GitHub to simplify the process of getting and analyzing the code. It's basically saying, this is a disclaimer to say that's the original source to the code. The GitHub repository, it's been created, just extracted the code from there, and it's here for ease of use. But you're gonna see lots of disclaimers like that because much of this malware it's been, sorted out, but they can still do damage, and that's why you need to include disclaimer. So ransomware, let's look at the crypt locker here. The crypt locker, and here we have a ransomware simulation. So this is written in Java and can simulate the behaviors of the crypt locker. So the application process this application only in virtual machine, like VMware. Read the instructions. So you're always going to get this kind of disclaimer, and this is important. You need to learn first how to set up a VM virtual machines. And actually for the Cuckoo Sandbox, there's some other specific settings that you have to do in order for the virtual machine to operate. And I hope that this is going to be enough time for me to show you that. But again, 4 hours is a fairly short course to show you everything. The main goal here is to give you access to some files that you can run in the techniques that I'm going to show you. And then if you look at the Pegasus, this is a spyware. So let's look at the Pegasus. This is just a web description of the spyware. And why did I include this? Sometimes this malware, you won't even hear it. So it's going to be sitting on your device and you won't even know that you have been hacked. And that is why I included that link over there, that there's a reason why we build those virtual machines, because it can be installed into your device and you won't even know that it's there. So we mentioned the polymorphic malware. So here we're moving on to more detailed about polymorphic malware. Medusa Locker, I mentioned that before. It's a ransomware strain from a very well-known family of ransomware, and this is specific for targeting critical infrastructure, healthcare, and it's exploiting the remote desktop protocol vulnerabilities. So let's click on the Medusa Locker so we can see the actual code. So here we have some snippet from the code. But as you can see here, there's a lot more code. So the file paths, the registry. So here you will be able to find, and this is from Cisco Talos. So you see this GitHub repository, it's quite reliable and it's 5 years old. So as long as you're running into a virtual machine, you should be fairly safe. But again, and one of the difficulties that I have with running this code is that my virtual machine is university provided, and that device, it's obviously not here with me when I'm recording, and I'm not certain if I'm allowed to use it when I'm recording. So I'm gonna have to create my own virtual machine, and I'm gonna do that, and I'll record examples of how to analyze this. Now, this is a second malware that I wanted to talk about. It's a modular, multi-stage malware that targets financial institutions and e-commerce platforms. It's known for its sophisticated web injection techniques. It's used to steal user credentials and financial data. So let's look at the malware itself. This is from Malpedia. It's a different source for extracting malware samples. And here you have the version 4.1 from this malware. And again, some people would say that you shouldn't really be clicking from dodgy sources. Remember, you're downloading malware, so there is no reliable source, GitHub or anywhere. So you need to have protection in place before you click the button, because even on GitHub, even from a reliable source, it will tell you that what you're downloading is malware. So be careful when you click that. But this is from 2024. So here, it's not really that old example. So here it's another explanation of the malware. First appearance during the mid-2020s. Targeted the Brazil and the largest e-commerce company in Latin America. Multi-stage malware deployment, which use several legitimate Windows processes and open source tools to remain undetected. So that's the Charles malware. Let's look at the Black Mamba. Black Mamba, actually we're going to go into very much detail of Black Mamba. This is an article published by Jeff Sims, and we're going to be looking at the white paper here. So we're going to be looking at that. You can get the white paper, you just need to click there and register. Then they will give you access to the white paper. So we're going to be looking at the delivery of the Black Mamba and how you can deliver this with Python packages. And I'm going to be showing you examples of the code and how does it look from the hacking perspective from the other side. So I'm not going to go too much into Black Mamba now, because we do have a 10-minute demo with Black Mamba. And when we're talking about wiper bots, what are the wiper bots? Wiper bots are type of malware that would attack and wipe your devices, and this we have seen them used in Russia, in the Russian invasion of Ukraine. More specifically, here we have these 3 different types of wipers. So first they sent hermetic ransom and different types of hermetic wizard. Those are just decoys, and then they attacked with the hermetic wiper. Hermetic wiper basically wiped out all the information. The tool was not designed to save any data. The tool was designed to, end the information flow. And here we have 2 specific examples. Let me check 21 minutes. It's difficult to fit all this content into a half-an-hour session. And so I'm going to go quickly through the PowerPoint, and then I'm going to go to the whiteboard in a separate session. So we have 2 examples here. One is worms and second is Trojans. So the worm example that I have here is from Sonic Wall Worm, which is a worm that exploited a 0-day vulnerability in Sonic Firewall. So this was recorded in 2024, so on the 9th of September. And the reason why I included it here is that we're constantly adding CVEs into the databases. So here you can see that as soon as something is detected, it's listed. But what if this was a 0-day vulnerability? Because there's a loads of talk about how we need to prevent 0-day vulnerabilities. Well, the problem is that many of those, when they are undetected before you include them in the database, if you don't know that they exist, what kind of protection you're gonna build when you don't know that it's a 0-day vulnerability? That's why it's called a 0-day. Second example, recent example, this is from 2024 here, is on a Trojan malware that disguised as a legitimate software. So the Klop Trojan, it's a known Trojan, but let's click on the link here. And this is from the US CISA, Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Defense, yada yada yada, CISA. What does it stand for? Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency. That's what it stands for, CISA. This was released in 2023, but the Klop that I'm referring to here actually advanced even more in 2024. So it was modified to exploit vulnerabilities in enterprise software and has been used to deliver ransomware in high-profile attacks. So we have names for these attacks and for the gangs. Why is it so important? It's important, hold on. It's important because sometimes you need to take specific actions, and if you don't take those actions, then your systems would be exposed. So some of those actions often are easy to perform, but sometimes are difficult. You need to get people to, and it's going to slow down your processes. So this is just one type of attack, and they're happening all the time. And it's listed on the MITRE ATT&CK. If you're not using MITRE ATT&CK, then you should be using MITRE ATT&CK. So here is the link to the MITRE ATT&CK. This is an enterprise matrix system, which I'm going to be showing. Let me include this as a web page. How do I add? Anyways, I'm going to add this to the presentation for tomorrow. But here, you see, every time you've been hacked with a specific attack, for example, phishing for information, you can go and find out the detection mechanisms, how to detect them, and these are specific instructions to monitor and analyze traffic patterns and packet inspections. So this is, MITRE ATT&CK is definitely a useful tool to have because that's updated quite frequently by people like me who work in cybersecurity. Now, I just show you two examples from 2024, just to say that even old malware, sometimes malware that has been patched, can be reactivated and updated. And here I would do a Guidra exercise. For Guidra, it's recommended that you include that you use it on a different device. So this is Guidra. How do you use it? You download from GitHub, and then your computer will say, if you're using Apple, it's going to say that it's a virus. It will. So there's an installation guide here. And in this installation guide, it will tell you that it supports most platforms. So I used it with Microsoft. It will tell you what is the minimum requirement that you have. But you need to install this. Without that, it's not going to run. And Mac OS don't usually have that installed, so you're going to have to click on this link, install the Java 21 64-bit runtime and development kit in order for that to work. There's other things that you need to install, but I'm going to be going that in the next video because this video is close to half an hour. So see you in the next one.